Have you ever walked into a room wearing your scars like armor, only to see the people who left them laugh in your face? Picture this: the heavy oak doors of a courtroom creak open, and there I am, tall, steady, my dress blues crisp, metals catching the light like distant stars. My father's low chuckle cuts first, sharp as broken glass. My mother shakes her head slowly, pearls clicking like tiny judgments. And the judge? He doesn't laugh. He doesn't shake his head. He leans forward, eyes wide, and whispers a question that freezes me in place. "Lieutenant Reyes, is that really you?" That moment wasn't just a trial. It was 12 years of quiet reckoning crashing down in a single heartbeat. I am Lieutenant Sophia Reyes. If you've ever felt like the black sheep who grew into a warrior, stay with me. What happened next didn't just save a farmhouse. It saved a family. And maybe, just maybe, it'll remind you why your uniform, in whatever shape it takes, is always worth wearing, no matter who chuckles. Let's rewind. Because stories like this don't start in courtrooms. They start in the quiet betrayals of ordinary mornings. It was a Tuesday, 2 days before the hearing that would upend my life. I was in my garden in Chesapeake, Virginia, salt air brushing my cheeks, the Chesapeake Bay whispering secrets if you listen closely. My hands, calloused from years of fixing engines and stitching wounds under fire, dug into the soil, coaxing azaleas back to life. Then the envelope arrived. Crisp, official, stamped with the seal of the Portsmouth Circuit Court. I wiped dirt on my jeans, tore it open on the porch, and my old rescue mutt, Luna, curled at my feet, a crooked-legged guardian from some forgotten street fight. The words blurred at first: petition for partition of real property. My parents, Richard and Catherine Reyes, were suing to sell the family homestead, a weathered Victorian on Elm Street, built board by Grandpa Victor after storming Normandy in '44. Their grounds? Abandonment. 12 years of me forsaking them for the Navy. A bitter laugh escaped me. Abandonment. As if enlisting at 18, ignoring tearful pleas, was running away. As if hauling my team through sandstorms, pulling kids from collapsing buildings, and staring into the faces of death wasn't service. Luna whimpered softly, like she knew my world had tilted. Grandpa Victor was my anchor. He wasn't blood, Mom's father, but he hammered that house into existence with nothing but stubborn hands and old Navy tools. I was 6 when he first let me help. He handed me nails too big for my tiny fists and told stories of foxholes, of forgotten beaches, of courage under fire. "Every board's got a story, Sophia," he'd say, voice rough from cigarettes and saltwater. "Treat 'em right, and they'll hold you up when the storms come." He saw the fire in me before anyone else, the girl climbing trees like cliffs, bandaging strays with shoelaces. When I told him at 15 I wanted to join the SEALs, he didn't blink. He engraved a brass compass: courage charts the course. But my parents? Richard Reyes, grease-stained foreman hands like permanent tattoos, only saw a little girl shattering. "The military's no place for a daughter," he growled over a clattering fork at dinner. Catherine, elegant even in her nurse scrubs, with silver-streaked hair and eyes that could pierce armor, reached for my hand. "Sophia, think of the life you're throwing away, weddings, grandchildren, not this." Their fear wasn't malice. It was their own ghosts: Richard's draft regrets from Vietnam, Catherine's brother lost to a helicopter crash in Nam. To them, the uniform was a widowmaker, not wings. I enlisted anyway. Bud/S was hell's crucible, freezing log PT, sleep-deprived hell weeks, instructors screaming we'd never measure up. I did. Top of my class. The only woman in a cohort of iron-willed men. Dad didn't attend my pinning ceremony. Mom sent a text, proud in our way. Be safe. It stung like saltwater in a fresh cut. Deployments shaped me. Logistics officer first, supply runs in Taliban territory, turning chaos into lifelines. Then extractions, night raids where seconds meant survival. I remember Al-Qaim as if it were yesterday, dust-choked air, AKs cracking off mud walls, screams under fire. My team, the Ghosts, pulled 14 contractors from a burning outpost. Not everyone made it. Petty Officer Morales, my swim buddy from BUD/S, took shrapnel shielding a child hiding in rubble. I held him as the dust-off chopper thumped in. His blood warm on my gloves, last words rasping, "Tell my girls." I made it count. An IED ambush near Syria shattered my knee. Purple Heart. Medical discharge. Pension that bought me this quiet life. Now I repair what others break, boats, roofs, hearts. Luna shadows me, two strays who refuse to quit. But the farmhouse? Grandpa Victor's legacy, willed to me for the one with steady hands, was under threat. 12 years of payments, repairs, and silent devotion meant nothing to parents who refused to see beyond their fear. I couldn't let them erase him. Erase me. So I made a call. Not to a lawyer. Not to a judge. To my uniform. The night before court, I hauled the cedar chest from the attic. Dust motes danced. There it was, dress blues, starched and solemn. Medals tumbled, bronze star, silver star for Morales's team, a flag from Master Chief Torres's funeral. I ironed the jacket till my arms ached. Polished the shoes till my reflection stared back, not the broken veteran, but the lieutenant who stared death in the face and still stood. One more mission, I whispered to the empty room. For the boards with stories. Morning arrived crisp. I loaded Luna into the truck. 20 miles to Portsmouth. My mind replayed the what-ifs, high school weddings, children, a normal life. But no. The uniform wasn't regret. It was truth. The courthouse loomed, granite and cold marble. My parents waited on a bench. Richard in his ill-fitting blazer, Catherine's pearls gleaming, posture stiff. Dad's chuckle first, low and dismissive, "Well, look at Hollywood. Come to put on a show, Sophia?" Mom's head shook. "This isn't the place, dear. Please." I met their eyes. "It's exactly the place, Dad. For the truth." The gavel cracked, and the judge's eyes narrowed over his glasses. Judge Marcus Hale, silver hair, wire-rimmed spectacles, mustache twitching like he could smell dishonesty. He glanced at my parents' lawyer, then at me. "Petition for petition, counsel." "State your case," he said, his voice steady but carrying the weight of authority. Their lawyer rose, polished shoes tapping the floor, briefcase fat with arguments but thin with truth. "Your Honor, my clients, Richard and Catherine Reyes, seek to divide and sell the property at 142 Elm Street. Their daughter, Sophia Reyes, abandoned them 12 years ago for military service, leaving them to shoulder the burden alone." Abandonment. The word landed in my chest like a bullet. Dad nodded vigorously, Mom dabbed her eyes theatrically, pearls clinking. I swallowed the rising tide of anger and disbelief. Judge Marcus Hale turned to me. "Ms. Reyes? Your response?" I rose, heart hammering, voice steady as steel in water. "Lieutenant Reyes, retired, Your Honor. And no abandonment occurred. I've maintained the property remotely, taxes paid, repairs contracted, insurance up to date. Exhibit A, 12 years of bank statements." Exhibit B, correspondence with county officials confirming upkeep. The judge flipped through my folders. Brow furrowed. Dad's lawyer sputtered. Objection, relevance? This doesn't negate her desertion of family duties. Dad leaned forward. Duties? She ran off to play soldier. Left her mother crying at the bus station, me scraping by in that money pit. Mom's head shook, silent reproach. I inhaled. Your Honor. I enlisted at 18 to serve this nation, the same one Grandpa Victor fought for when he stormed Omaha Beach. The farmhouse? He built it for family. He willed it to me because he saw I had the hands to hold it. I didn't abandon it. Or them. After graduation, I served in logistics, extractions, and combat zones, all while maintaining the property remotely. Even during Hurricane Florence, I paid for roof repairs from my Navy pension. Dad snorted. Shrapnel? Hero stories now? Judge Marcus Hale paused. His eyes lifted from the paperwork, scanning my medals. Silver star cluster catching the light. Bronze star ribbon glinting like a warning flare. Lieutenant Sophia Reyes, the Almacala evacuation, 2017. You led the team that extracted 28 diplomats under hostile fire? The courtroom collectively inhaled. Murmurs swelled like a storm. Dad's chuckle died midair. Mom's hand flew to her mouth, eyes wide. Their lawyer froze. I nodded, throat tight. Yes, sir. And I have documentation of every mission, every operation, every expenditure toward the farmhouse. Judge Marcus Hale removed his glasses, voice softer now, tinged with respect. I read the after-action report. Your decision to vector the helicopter through a sandstorm saved lives, diplomats still alive today because of your actions. And here you are, facing your own family. He turned to my parents, steel in his eyes. Mr. and Mrs. Reyes, your petition claims abandonment. But this woman has carried your legacy, and the country's, on her back for over a decade. Dad sank into his chair, face ashen. Mom's pearls slipped unnoticed to the floor. I remember the operations like scars on my brain. The dust of Al-QAM, the crack of AKs. The screams. Morales falling. The smell of burning mud walls. Pulling civilians to safety, navigating through chaos with nothing but grit and training. Each medal pinned to my chest isn't decoration, it's proof that fear doesn't get a vote. And yet, coming home, the uniform became a battlefield of its own. Silence from my parents. Whispered judgment from neighbors. The house I grew up in, falling to ruin, yet me accused of abandonment. I stepped forward again. Your Honor, I've kept meticulous records. Exhibit C, invoices for roof repairs during hurricanes. Exhibit D, correspondence with local contractors. Exhibit E, letters from neighbors confirming my continued engagement with the property. Not a single dollar unaccounted for, not a single board left to rot while I served. Judge Marcus Hale leaned back, considering. Dad's lips pressed into a thin line. Catherine whispered something inaudible, shaking her head. Mr. Reyes, Judge Marcus Hale said sharply, you claim your daughter abandoned you. Yet here is evidence of 12 years of active maintenance. How do you reconcile this? Dad faltered, the courtroom's heat pressing down. Well, she wasn't here. She wasn't here physically, I interrupted. But absence doesn't equal neglect. Responsibility was fulfilled, just from a distance. Every tax, every repair, every inspection, paid, managed, and overseen. I didn't abandon the property. Or the family. A tense pause. The lawyer opened his mouth, then closed it again. Judge Marcus Hale tapped the desk, impatient for truth over theatrics. Then, the moment the room tilted on its axis. I drew a deep breath, the kind you take before surfacing from dark waters. Your Honor. I enlisted not because I wanted to escape, but because I believed in service, in honor, in courage. Grandpa Victor saw potential in me that no one else did. He built that house to be a sanctuary, and willed it to me because he knew I had the hands to maintain it. I never left it behind. But after I donned the uniform, my parents made it clear that my service wasn't welcome in their eyes. So I served anyway, Kandahar, the Hindu Kush, Al-Qaim, and still ensured the house survived, even when I couldn't be physically present. The courtroom leaned in. The gravity of my words hung like smoke. Dad scoffed. Service? And we're supposed to be proud of being abandoned? Judge Marcus Hale's gaze pierced him. Lieutenant Reyes, your service is documented. You have medals, citations, and testimony. Your actions speak louder than any complaint of absence. Mr. and Mrs. Reyes, do you have anything to counter this? Richard Reyes opened his mouth, then closed it again. Catherine's fingers twisted together. Silence, heavy and tense. I remembered Grandpa Victor's voice, gravelly and kind. Sophia, every board has a story. Honor isn't what they see, it's what you do when no one is watching. Hold the line, even when it hurts. That's what makes a Reyes. I clutched the brass compass he gave me, tucked under my uniform. Courage charts the course, it read. That night, before court, I had whispered to the empty room, one more mission. For the boards with stories. Judge Marcus Hale leaned forward, eyes softening. Lieutenant Reyes, it's clear you fulfilled your obligations, both as a service member and as a caretaker for the property. And yet, you're standing here, facing your own family's misunderstanding. Murmurs spread across the gallery. People leaning forward, hanging on every word. Dad's jaw tightened, the color draining from his face. Mom's hand trembled as she reached for his arm. Your Honor, I said, I didn't abandon them. I served. I protected. I preserved. That house is my grandfather's legacy, my legacy, and I will defend it with every ounce of strength left in me. Judge Marcus Hale nodded slowly. Petition for partition, denied. Ownership remains with Lieutenant Reyes. No abandonment has occurred. The room exhaled collectively. Relief, tension, disbelief, all mixed. Dad sank back, defeated. Mom's shoulders shook, tears falling silently. Their lawyer muttered something inaudible, already defeated. In chambers, Judge Marcus Hale shared his own ghosts, a son who had enlisted against his wishes and returned in a coffin from Fallujah. I understand, he said, gripping my shoulder. Uniforms blind some, but they also illuminate others. I left the courthouse that day with more than a victory. I had regained respect, not just for myself, but for the legacy I carried. The autumn sun hit like grace as I drove home. Luna rested her head on my lap. Grandpa Victor's compass, retrieved from Dad's shop years ago, glinted in my hand, honor. The farmhouse awaited me, boards sagging, memories fading. Restoration began, board by board, story by story. Neighbors, veterans, even strangers pitched in, drawn by the invisible thread of courage. But the real reconciliation would come uninvited, weeks later. A knock at the farmhouse door. Half rehung, freshly painted. Catherine, alone, clutching a manila envelope. Her eyes ringed with exhaustion. Can I see what you've done? I swallowed. Luna growled softly, but stayed by her side. I opened the door. And there she was, hesitant, afraid, yet ready to face what she'd misunderstood for 12 years. That moment would test everything I believed about family, forgiveness, and the weight of a uniform. Catherine stood at the threshold, manila envelope clutched tight, hesitation written across every line of her face. Luna patted at her ankles, low growls softened into curious sniffing. "Can I see what you've done?" she whispered. I stepped aside, letting her in. Sunlight caught the dust motes, painting the air gold, as she wandered through the partially restored home. Her hand brushed over the smooth new railing, fingers tracing the grains like braille, connecting to memories she'd almost let slip away. "He'd love this," she murmured. "Your grandfather. Victor. He kept a photo of you at 8, helping him with the chimney. Steady hands, he called you." From the envelope, she pulled a faded Polaroid, me, gap-toothed, smiling, mortar on my nose. "We were scared, Sophia, of losing you like we lost Gabriel. But we lost you anyway, pushing too hard." Tears came, mine first, hot and unbidden. Hers followed silently, tracing lines like rivers on an old map. No speeches, no excuses, just truth. "I forgive you, Mom," I whispered. "For the texts. The shakes. All of it." She hugged me, fragile yet fierce. "Come to dinner. Sunday. Your father's asking." Dinner with Dad, Richard, required courage. The table, set with china too delicate for casual use, creaked under the weight of unspoken tension. My brother, Ethan, the golden son who'd stayed behind, shifted nervously with his wife Sarah. Kids fidgeted under the table. Dad, carving ham with surgical precision, avoided my gaze until the plates were cleared. Then, quiet as a confession. "I found this in the shop. Meant for you." The brass compass, Grandpa Victor's engraving faint, courage charts the course. Jack made me promise. I failed. "You didn't play soldier, Sophia. You became one. Better than me." The dam broke. Laughter mingled with sobs. Ethan clapped me on the back. Sarah raised her glass awkwardly, to steady hands. We spoke till midnight, sharing confessions, regrets, victories, losses. Not everything healed. Some scars pucker, some words remain unspoken. But the light had found its way in. The farmhouse rose, phoenix-like, under our hands. Weekends, the truck loaded with lumber from the salvage yard, Luna trotting beside me, inspector and companion both. The porch first, rotten slats pried free, new oak sanded smooth until it gleamed like Grandpa Victor's smile. Neighbors pitched in unasked. Old Mr. Donovan, a Korean War veteran from the marina, brought his circular saw and stories of Incheon. "Girl, you got Victor's grit," he said, hammering beside me. I laughed, a foreign, freeing sound after years of silence. We tackled the kitchen, gutted and rebuilt. Granite counters now stood firm like the armor I'd worn overseas. Cabinet doors replaced, hinges oiled. Luna jumped onto the counter to sniff the new scent, a grin tugging at her muzzle. The attic held ghosts. Letters from Grandpa Victor to Grandma, blueprints of the house's bones, dust-covered toys from my childhood. Each discovery a reminder, this house was more than wood and nails, it was legacy. Catherine helped more each day. Initially tentative, she gradually removed her gloves of fear and judgment. Dad, slow to participate, found solace in hammering, measuring, tightening screws, action speaking where words had failed. I remembered Grandpa Victor's lessons. "Sophia, every board has a story. Honor isn't what they see, it's what you do when no one is watching. Hold the line, even when it hurts. And the nights overseas, Kandahar, the Hindu Kush, Al-Qaim, each mission a brutal test of courage and resolve. Those scars, physical and invisible, followed me here. I realized restoration wasn't just for the house. It was for me, for Luna, for the family I almost lost, and for the ghosts I carried too long. Weeks turned into months. Sunday dinners became ritual. Ethan's kids, wild and curious, chased Luna through the yard. Laughter echoed through the halls. Mom's pearls were gone, her bun loose, laughter freer. Dad tinkered in the shed, sweat and dirt on his hands, quiet apology in every movement. We talked of Gabriel, the brother and son lost too soon, sharing memories, filling in gaps. Stories became bridges, laughter became mortar, and the farmhouse was the structure binding it all together. Veterans, neighbors, even strangers arrived unasked. Potlucks, shared tools, stories of battles and beaches. Jenkins's widow brought pie. Delgado's sisters shared photographs. Judge Marcus Hale stopped by, mustache twitching with approval. "Told you, light cuts through," he said, voice soft but firm. I reflected on the compass, now polished and engraved with forgiveness anchors the soul. It guided me through conflict, fear, and reconciliation. I wore it to school talks, Veterans Week ceremonies, and neighborhood gatherings, a reminder that courage is silent and persistent. Months of work, sweat, and tears culminated in a restored home. But the real victory? The emotional rebuilding, our family learning to honor each other's paths, to forgive, to love. Every board I sanded, every nail I hammered, every corner I painted carried a story. The uniform I'd worn in combat had been a bridge to this moment, not just protection, but proof. The farmhouse glows under Virginia moons, porch light eternal like a beacon. Family dinners weekly. Ethan's kids chasing Luna. Mom's laughter echoing. Dad working quietly, teaching lessons in his way. And me? Lieutenant Sophia Reyes, retired but never done. Fixing boats by day, telling stories by night, each one a lesson in courage, honor, and resilience. We toast not to victories alone, but to storms weathered. To choices made when no one is watching. To forgiveness given, bridges rebuilt, and hands steady despite everything.